Hi everybody, welcome to part 3 of our Build with Photoshop and Bootstrap tutorials. So we are continuing with our website, and what we're going to build today is the last 3 sections. Our little T-bloggers review, our shop now, which is going to be a carousel, and then, oops, that kind of moved, and then our footer. All right, so I hope you're ready for that. To start off again, just remember always to, before you just kind of like jump in into Atom or Sublime, remember to really look at this and try and figure it out before you start to put things together. What do you think this would be? So look at each section and then kind of in a way dissect it what it will be before you just kind of head in. Remember also to work obviously always as semantically as possible. So if you're going to need a column, then you need a row. Okay, so this kind of sits in the middle, so I know that I have to make some center adjustments. Kind of looks fairly small, so maybe even a call medium 6. This I know is kind of a carousel. I didn't put the chevrons in, but this is definitely going to be a carousel, bootstrap carousel. And then this is a footer. And then I know obviously I've got some icons there, so I might just have to use Font Awesome. So very important, before you just kind of jump in, you have to dissect this, and that's why I strongly believe in creating actually wireframes with a lot of sketches on and a lot of notes that actually say this is an H4 and this is an H2 together with my UI style guide. Okay, so let's jump into Atom. So I have created this area. So we finished last time with our class, our card groups, and I now know that I have a testimonial section, oopsie, sorry, I have a carousel section, and then I have my footer section. So I also strongly believe in putting those comments in there, making sure that you know the 3 structures or the 5, 6, 7, 8 structures that you're going to build, and do those comments before you actually start. All right, so I'm going to start obviously with the testimonial section. Again, I'm not going to do this as a slider, although there is these 3 little dots. I'm not going to do it as a slider now. So I'm going to start with a section with a class of testimonials. I might not style it straight away, but the fact of the matter is that it's always good to know that or to create a class for that specific section if you need to style it. I might have styled it anyway, but we'll check that out. Okay, so I'm going to start with my section called testimonials. I now know that I have to use a, well, not know, but I kind of like think that I'm using a, think that I'm using a container. Not a container fluid. Just remember that a container has a set width. So that's the big difference between a container fluid and a container. Because a container fluid is the screen width. It's the total screen width, and a container has a set width. In this case, I think it's in at 960. All right, so then I'm going to close that div. And then inside of that container, I am going to put a div with a class of row, because I know that I'm going to use a column. Oh dear, can't type tonight. And in that, I'm going to start off with a div with a class of, let's just call it for now, col dash 6 is only going to be 1, and I'm going to just close that. Also, just remember when you start to put your content in, make sure that your indentation is correct. Okay, and in Atom you will see these little blue lines, which always helps. All right, then I know that I'm going to put I think it's an H4. Is it not an H3? Okay, let's do an H3 class, and I think I made that subheadline 02. Subheadline 02, and just going to, and I know that it is T bloggers reviews, and I can also close that H3. All right, and then after that, I'm going to have a P with a class of body text. It comes up, yes. And again, we're just going to close our P. And like in most good HTML script, HTML editors, if you type in lorem and you just press tab, then you'll get some lorem ipsum. I'm just going to go to view, and I'm going to do a soft toggle so that I can actually see it. Now, before the H3, I'm going to put an image. So it's image src, and I'm just going to put it's img, and I think it's called, what is it, T? Let's see, it's T testimonial 01. T underscore testimonial la, 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 01, and it is a PNG because of that lovely soft alpha shadow. And then obviously I'm also going to put my alt tag in there. Okay, all right. Now, just to troubleshoot it again, always get into the habit of put your troubleshooting red border there so that you always know exactly where this is, what you have done, and then we're going to go. Let's just see that. Just cancel that. Sorry. Let's just go to our browser, and we're just going to open this. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Let's just go. And it's that one. All right, so let's just open that and see what we've done. And there it is. Okay, so you can see that container kind of like sits in the middle of your screen. Okay, so why testimonials now? No, it is testimonial. Oh, it's not T, Anka, it's Lux. Lux, okay, and if we now refresh, then there she comes. Okay, she's not centered. Now, again, there's a few things how you can center content. The best is actually just to use MX Auto. All right. I would, however, maybe not put it in container, but I would probably suggest to put it inside of the row, because the row, remember, row is the parent of column, and you want things to actually be controlling. The parent is kind of like, you know how it is. Parents are controlling their children. So so let's just do that. And okay. All right. Okay, let's put it there. Let's just see. All right. Okay. There it comes. So we're controlling the where the column is sitting with regards to its parent. Okay. So the red border is helpful to let you see where this object is. And then obviously what we also want to do is we want to say text center. So that good old wonderful Bootstrap element. Okay, so there they are. So our content is centered. Our column 6, the content in column 6 is centered. The text is centered, and the row is centered. If we put you'll see now, if we copy that and we put that in there, our red border, and we do an MX auto there, then you see that that is centered in the middle. Okay, so your row is definitely centered inside of your container. There's no two ways about it. If we take it out here, out of our col 6, all right, then sorry, that's my problem. then that does nothing. All right, so we have to actually, the row is centered, but it's centered in its parent. So you need to actually control the child, so that the child is actually centered as well. Okay, so if we then put our mx back in our col 6, then she would be or he would be centered inside of your row. Okay, so I'm just going to take container out so you know where container is and you know where row sits. Row has a natural padding, so that's also why you see that there is a little bit of space between the row and the container. Okay, and you can take that off if you if you don't want it. All right, so okay, so there she is, very, very simple. If you wanted to make a text link in there, then you can, or we will do that next time. Okay, so what I did do for my testimonials, if we just go um, and hover down. Yes, obviously I made it a width of 100%. Okay. And I also gave it a min height, so it can't be smaller than 600px. I gave it a margin 0 auto. That's always a nice way of actually creating some centered elements as well if you don't use Bootstrap. But in this case, it's better to use Bootstrap. And then obviously I created a padding at the top. So that is why there is some space inside and not necessarily outside. And you can do a margin top if you wanted to, if you really want to push that element down. Okay, so let's just look at our H3 subheadline 02. So I wanted to create a headline that is now a sans serif, so I'm using my other family. Remember, in this case, we're using 3. We're using Pinion, we're using Roboto for our body text, and Pinion for our elaborate, we call it a display text, and then we had one, which I don't know why I did that, but anyway, for our nav. We should probably change our nav to Roboto as well. Text transform still stays at uppercase. You want it to be full caps, and then a font size of 3M, and then obviously the gray. Okay, so that's basically it. That's a very simple element. And we're going to, as I say, in tutorials later, we will change that with some JavaScript sliders. Okay, so then the next element, if you just saved it, the next element is then going to be our carousel. So again, what I'm going to do is, in this case, I am going to start with a section with a class of my carousel. And again, what I'm doing here is I'm just giving myself the freedom to style the section if I want to. Not necessarily, I know in this case I did not. Okay. And then we're going to do a div with a class of, again, I'm going to do a container. And although in my Photoshop file it looks like it's container fluid, but I'm going to scrap that. And then inside I'm going to do a no, actually I don't have to do anything. I can just go to Bootstrap and I can go and get Bootstrap. I can go and get my carousel. So I'm going to go to documentations again. I'm going to go to components and I'm going to find my carousel. Now remember, there's a few carousels that you can use and depend on obviously what it is that you want to show. Do you want to just have your little forward and backward chevrons? Do you want some example indicators here, which I'm going to use, and even do you want captions? And I'm actually going to use this with captions one. I'm going to take out some stuff, but bear with me, we'll get there. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to place it in my container. So again, it depends on it depends on what it is that you want to do, but in this case, I quite like to have the functionality of everything. So it starts off with your carousel example captions. So that I'm just going to indent. That is a ordered list, all right? And then it is your carousel inner. And in this carousel inner, you now have your actual images. So I'm just going to indent that. And there is, obviously in this case, 3 of them. You can do more, you can do 5, doesn't really matter. Okay, so I will just indent that so that we kind of stay semantically correct. And then again, if we hover over our carousel inner, then we see that it hugs our carousel item. Okay, so carousel inner is, let's call it, it's that outer container that kind of holds these 3 images in. And then we have our previous and next. All right, so and they are obviously those little buttons that we get. So, all right, so control prev and control next. So those you can also obviously change. You can change their color, which we will have a little bit of fun with later. Okay, so I'm going to put my images in my image source. Oh dear, that wasn't necessary. So I'm just going to do IMG, and I think I called them just Lux T slide. So I'll just do Lux, and they are T, and it's slide with an ST slide 01, and they are definitely PNGs also because they are transparent. Okay, so I'm just going to actually copy this and then just put it in the next one and just go and change it. Okay, that is just really stupid. That is a it's just stupid. And then just change it from 1 to 2. And remember also it's 01 and 02. Please do not do it 1 and 2. That's just going to irritate you when you really look for content. Okay, all right. Then the H4 I'm going to change to the H5 I'm going to change to an H4, and I'm going to do it. It's a class of sub. God, I can't. Sub headline, and then this I'm going to copy in all the other 8 H5s, but just remember to change it from H4 and H5 on both sides. So I'll just do a H4 and a H4. Okay, I know that this is pinion, so that's why I do a sub headline. I'm also going to just change the content, and I'm going to just say this is shop. Whoopee. This is shop now. The next one is I think it's great quality and best taste for now. Okay, all right, and then I'm going to take out the peas. I don't need in this case I'm not going to use peas. Okay, all right, now before I'm going to show this to you, what I did before is I made some changes to the carousel caption. Now just remember, because you're using Bootstrap, it doesn't mean that you are going to use everything as Bootstrap set it out. Okay, because in fact, if we look at this, our second slide label, or our label, is sitting in a very different space from what mine is sitting in my actual Photoshop file. So that's why you therefore need to go into the Bootstrap CSS, and you still need to make Bootstrap CSS your own. Okay, so what I've done is I'm just going to, just so that I can find it, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go into Bootstrap CSS, and I'm just going to press Command F or Control F to find it, and you'll see what I've done. All right, so if you open the general Bootstrap, this has definitely been changed. So I've changed the top, I've changed the right, I've changed the bottom, I've changed the placing. Now just remember again, if we go back, what is position absolute? Position absolute is where I can specifically say an object is going to be situated in relation to its parent. Its parent must always be relative, and then this will sit in relation to its parent. Okay, so I've made some changes here. So that's why yours might definitely look different from mine. Okay, I've also made the text align left. We can do a text align center or right, depending on where it sits. So the point that I want to make is You are using these components from Bootstrap, but it's still your responsibility to obviously change the Bootstrap CSS so that it fits your design. All right, it's not always just a case of copy and paste. If you do that, you will really have a very formulaic design, which no client will ever really be happy with. All right, so I'm going to save that. We're going to go to our browser, and we're going to see what it looks like. Okay, and she can't see it because she probably made a mistake in the type again and the name. So let's just see what she did. It is. I should just double check. No, it is that one. Okay. So we'll just see. What did she do? Yes, because the underscore is in front of the number. Yes. Well, girl. All right, so let's just see. And there it is. Okay, so that is our little headline. We've moved it. By the way, I've also changed my little indicators. So again, the indicators doesn't have to be white. You can make them any color that you want. Again, same story. We'll fix the type now. Again, same story. You are going to look at your carousel indicators if you want to change them. And as I said, I did. So I'm just going to copy my carousel indicators. I'm going to go to my Bootstrap. I'm just going to paste it. And in this case, my carousel indicator, I've changed it into my actual color. All right, so remember it is actually it is a list. All right, so that's why it's the LI that has the color in. So that's what I say is that you can change anything in Bootstrap to make it more your own. Do not use or do not try to not use it as formulaic as what Bootstrap always says. It will look like just a little bit too of a template. All right, so we said H4 the sublane. So let me just see what my H4 is actually. Oh no, Uncle, you were an idiot. It is actually H5. So it is an H5. So let's just change that. Sorry for that. Let's just change it back to an H5. Little dummy here. All right, let's just change that back. Let's just save and refresh, and there it is. Okay, so as I said, I've used whatever Bootstrap has given me with regards to a carousel, but then I've made it my own. So I've moved my type up, I have changed my indicators, etc., etc. Okay, so let's just look at that styling. So as I said, it is now Opinion Script again. I have increased the font weight because this font is fairly light. So as with our first headline there in our opening handshake, I've actually added a font weight. Just remember as well that some fonts have actual bold, but then some fonts don't, and you can use the 100 to 900 key to actually use that. And then I've used quite a big size for that. Okay, so that's my little carousel. Now, obviously, if we look at responsiveness, the actual little carousel is responsive, but obviously the type is way too big. So those are again things that we have to do for our media in our media queries. Now, look at what T-Blogger Review does, and this is just one thing that I want to pick on. So, look what T-Blogger Review does, and why do you think that this is now really tiny? Why? Because in fact, guys, we didn't specify. We just said col 6. We didn't specify what is the col 6. So, if I put an MD in front of it, okay, and I go back, then you see that it's changed. And the reason why it's changed, am I actually now in a extra small view. So now it is not thinking that it's medium anymore. And well, knows it's not medium anymore, number one, but also col 6 is far too general because it's going to take col 6 in all the devices. Okay, so that's just the difference. And when we get to media queries, we will, in the next session, we will go through all of that. So just remember that you do need to specify, or this is large, and then you specify it could be an 8 for extra small or whatever. Okay, but we will play around with some media queries and how we're going to relay it out next time. Okay, so we've got our carousel, and then the last element that we want to do is we want to do a footer. Now, footer obviously is a tag in HTML5, so we can just do footer and footer. Very easy. Okay. And let's go and look at Photoshop again, what the footer actually looks like. Okay, so first things first, when I look at this in Photoshop, I think I'm going to have 3 columns. All right, so I have a column for my one tea bag, I have a column for my text, and I have a column for my other tea bag. So just remember as well, it's about rows and it's about columns. So in the olden days, when we designed thinking that we're actually just building elaborate Excel spreadsheets, I can still see those days, and we did everything in tables. So you'll see a table row, and then you'll see a table cell, and there's data in the cell, and thank God we've moved on from that. But this is definitely a column. This is a column for our connect with us, and then we have another column for our tea bag. Okay, so let's do that. So again, oopsie, sorry, I'm going to start with a div with a class of container because it actually sits in the middle. It's definitely not from side to side. And then I'm going to close that div. Okay, remember, guys, please, 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 open and close, open and close, open and close. It's like a microwave door. I do not leave the microwave door open. It's terrible. It's a terrible habit. So we're going to go div and then with a class of row and close the microwave door. And then we're going to add 3 columns. So I'm going to start with div with a class of, and we're going to do it col medium 4. And again, we can obviously do that as col x12 because then it's just going to be one after the other. We know that. All right, and I'm just going to close that div. All right, so I know that there is going to be 3 of those. So I'm just going to copy, paste, and paste. All right, so in the first one, there's going to be just an image. So I'm going to do IMF, no, not the International Monetary Fund. And it is IMG, and this is footer T bag 01.png, and we're just going to do an alt there because that's what one should do, and we're going to close it. Oh dear. Okay, and let's just indent this correctly now. Okay, so this I'm going to copy as well because I know the last one also has this exact same image. It's just tbag02, so I'm just going to put that in there. All right, it's the middle one that's got my biggest concern. Now for the middle one, again, it is an H4 with a class of, that's the same as the T-Bloggers review. So it is sub headline 02. And just going to do an H4 there. Oh, my memory is terrible. It is H3. It's an H3. H3. All right, and then again, let's just put some content in there. It is connect with us, and then in there is going to be a P, but that P is very specific. All right, and a P. All right, so I'm going to go to Photoshop and I'll just copy it because I've done the work. So I'll just go and put my T and I'll just copy everything and paste. So chat via email, I know there's going to be a break there. Okay, this is going to be an ahref for mail to or a mail to link. So I'm just going to put an ahref. All emails is a mail to link. So it is mail to, and then exactly the address. So in this case, it is info at luxt.co.za and close the A and close the tag pair. Oh God, oh Lord. Okay, and then we'll do a call, and there is, this also gets a break, guys. I'm going to do a break there. I'm just going to copy this because I'm too lazy to type. I'm going to put a paste there. Okay, not a break for the last one because remember the P will allow it to be in the box. Okay, just put the in there. Okay, so let's just see what that looks like, and we'll just go there. And remember already it's beneath each other because we said that we want to we are using one column. No? Remember, Excel 12, it's a full column, so that's why they're underneath each other. Okay, so the P needs a class. So the P is class of body text. And there it comes up, and beautiful, and beautiful, and there it was. And I've obviously styled that. I have styled that already. Okay, so if we go and look at our styles, I think that that's part of that is part of nope. A footer link. Okay, so I have styled the footer as well. I've already asked for the text align to be centered, and I've given it a margin top to move it away. Remember, if you want one element to move away from another element, so say for instance you want to move the footer away from your testimonials or from your carousel, then it's always best to use a margin top. So there I've added the look and feel for the link that is in footer. So remember, you're using cascading style sheets. So your first parent is footer. Then if I have a P in my footer and an A link in the P, what does it look like? All right, so in this case, but also remember it's link and visited underneath each other. In this case, if I have an Ahref with inside of my text, my P tag, which sits in this case inside a footer, what does it look like? All right, so this is the true meaning of cascading style sheets. You are cascading from one parent into a child, or from a grandparent into a parent into a child. All right, so I made a font weight of bold, and I have given it a color. Now, just for the fun of it, looks terrible, but just for the fun of it, I've also created a background color of white so that you can see it. And in this case, therefore, I created some padding so that it actually moves down. So just remember again, it's first link and then visit it, and then only can you actually do hover. So I'll just save it. And that's why, oopie doopie, that's why that looks like that. All right, okay. Happiness. So I'll just do it in big view again, and there is our little element. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to add our beautiful icons. Now you're going to use Font Awesome for that. So let's go and again going to go to Font Awesome. When you use Font Awesome, just make sure that you use the latest link. And by that, I mean the latest documentation. Okay. Also, make sure that you just spend a time that you kind of know what the style prefix actually means. All right. So if it's solid, then there's going to be an FAS. If it's a brand, there's going to be a B, etc., etc. So the FA prefix has been depreciated in version 5. So I'm using an older version, so you'll see that mine is still FA, but in the newest version, let's just go, I think it's under support, I'm not 100% sure. Don't know. Let's just go and look at, let's go and start. Uh, I want to just look at the CDN for Font Awesome 5. Okay, so let's just look at the CDN for Font Awesome 5. And because I think I'm using Font Awesome um, so we can do I'm going to copy the brandsman. So again, in our HTML, right at the top, obviously in your head tag, yeah, you see I'm using a very old one, sorry. So I'm just going to paste, that one in there. Let me just paste that one in there, and I'm just going to copy another one and paste it. And this one is going to be copy, and it's just paste this one. So that's the 5.13, and you can also do a all.min if you want. Okay, just copy the whole thing. Let's just copy that again. Let's just put it in the middle. So we just want it. Oh, P2P. We just want one. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go back to my Font Awesome and I'll just search my icons and I'll just go Facebook. All right. And I'm just going to use the F4 now. Just because in this version of brands, I don't have the others. They're not all round. Okay, so I'm going to just copy the HTML, and then in my right there at the bottom in my footer, I'm going to add it. So just remember, I'm still in my div. Just after my P, I am going to place it. Now I also know that this is going to be linked, so I'm going to do a href for that, because this is obviously going to go to Facebook. I'm just going to put a hash in there because I'm not going to go to Facebook now, and an A at the back. Now I know how this works, so I will probably use the Twitter one as well, but I might just have to take out that F for now. And then the next one is going to be Twitter. And I'm going to use the normal birdie num num, and I'm going to just go and copy that and paste it underneath. That also gets an ahref, so we're going to copy an ahref in front of it, okay, and close the a tag pair. I'm going to copy this whole thing now, not being an idiot, and then I know what this is. This is actually just Instagram. So it's just going to go on Instagram. But to show you what you're going to do is, again, you're going to go into Font Awesome and you're just going to go and look for Instagram. Okay, and then Obi. And then we're just going to copy that one, and you'll see it says Instagram. So again, we're in brands. So that's why we have an FAB, and then we obviously have a Font Awesome. So they all will have an FA dash something, but in this case, we're talking about brands, so it's there. Okay, so one thing about these icons, guys, they are fonts, okay, because their name is Font Awesome. So you must actually think of them as fonts. So how would you actually style them? All right, so I've mailed some styling already. I'm just gonna change them a little bit. So in this case, if I have a class fab and then an FA Facebook and a class fab and an FA Twitter, what does it look like? All right, so the full styling would be, if I have a class FA, All right, and I have a class of, okay, so I'm just going to put some spaces in there. Okay, so let's just double check. Let's just double check. Let's just double check. Come now. Okay, all right. Okay, I can see them. I know that they are there. Let's just double check our links. Let's just double check our links. Let's double check our links. Let's just copy our CSS. So I'm just gonna copy that. Sorry, I'm just gonna paste that in there. So I'm gonna do a all for my CSS. I'm gonna paste it, copy, and I'm going to do a font awesome. You can do the min in this case, but anyway, let's just do that. Let's just save. Go there. Let's just double check. All right, there they come. Okay. All right. So the JS and, well, I could just use the CSS, but anyway. So whatever you are copying, I think the nice one is always to just copy all, because then they are there. But there is, and then obviously fontawesome.css, but there's obviously also the solid and the brand and you can decide which you want to do. But I think it's just best to do them like that. Okay, so we can just make sure that we have all our CSSs there. Okay, so if we go back to our actual styles.css, in this case, again, if I just going to explain, sorry, let's just double check for my own sanity, because let's just double check for my own sanity if it works. No, okay. We don't want a space. All right, so let's not have a space. Let's just put them right on top of each other. Okay. All right, so obviously I have a link and I have visited, because I know these are hrefs, so that's why I'm just doubling it up. So first you do an a link and I visited for Facebook, then you do an a link and I visited for Instagram, an a link and I visited for Twitter. So the font size is 3.6, you have a color and you have some padding. The reason again why I have the padding is because otherwise they sit right on top of each other, and then we have to do them here as well. So then we're going to just create the hovers for all of them, and the hovers will be exactly the same, and I'm using this kind of green 244608. So if we now save, then shebang, there they are, and they have beautiful hovers, and they go somewhere to nowhere. Okay, all right, so that is it. Let me just fix that dash, because there's a dash in there that shouldn't be there on my phone number. So let's just fix that. I don't know why there's a dash there instead of there's a plus. All right, okay, for the number. All right, so that's great. Okay, so that is in a nutshell from Photoshop to Bootstrap. So we've done our different sections. All right, and we've done our little font awesomes, and we've gave it some hovers. Remember, font awesome, it, as the name says, it is a font, so you got to treat it like a font. And there, it's beautiful. It still works. Okay, all right. Everything is beautiful. So the next thing that we're going to do in the next tutorial, we are going to use media queries to style this. and add some interactivity. So maybe we want to actually bring flavors of the month in with CSS animations, and then just make sure that it really flows beautifully when it is viewed on a mobile phone. Okay, but that is it. That is it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I hope you you could follow along. Okay, thank you everybody. See you soon. Thank you. Bye.